The views and opinions of the guest do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Radio Network, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Radio Network.
Hey, what do you say, Bobby Blitz from Overkill? That's right, I'm on BODS Mayhem Hour. You know it, I know it, we're both in the right place.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour, your source for all hard rock, heavy metal, new metal, alternative, punk, horror punk, hardcore, rock, and all local bands, with your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather, and as always, I'm bringing you guys awesome interviews. Today, it's an honor and a huge privilege to welcome back Mr. Bobby Blitz. He is the vocalist of the mighty Overkill. New Jersey thrashers Overkill have released their 19th studio record, folks, and that is a very, very awesome thing to be proud of these days. The album is entitled The Wings of War, out now via Nuclear Blast Records, and we're going to be talking to Bobby about that. So, Bobby, my man, how's it going?
John's fantastic. I love the Bodfather thing. Every time you try to get out, they suck you back in.
It happens, man. You know, I'm like, come on, what's going on?
It's the way it is, man. Listen, I grew up with all that around me, so I understand.
I watch my P's and Q's around Bobby, folks. I get a little nervous.
But good to be talking to you again, man. Good
Yes,
to have
sir.
another record out, and good to be looking at let's say a bright and successful 2019.
Very much so, good sir. So how's it been working with Nuclear Blast on the last couple of albums, man?
Well, good people. I think the best way to describe them is, quite honestly, they're metal fans. When you have metal fans running your label, it's easy to get your point across. We're a self-managed band, so we're the ones who bring those points to the hierarchy in Nuclear Blast. Gerardo in Los Angeles, Yap and Marcus in Germany, Mark Palmer in the UK. I mean, these are great guys to work with because they get it. I mean, they're black T-shirt guys. They wear the uniform.
Last Man Standing was the first single off the new album. However, was it hard to choose between the current set of songs on this new album, which one would be the first single and album? And for the folks who have not got to hear of Overkill as of yet, and you must be living under a rock or up in a cave somewhere, what did you want those folks to take away from this new single that hit the airways who have not got to hear you guys yet? What do you want them to take away from this, possibly?
Well, Last Man Standing specifically is Overkill Thrash 101. It's the opener. It was dubbed the opener before it actually had a title. That was the mock title for this. And I can remember the majority of our records with regard to mock title always had something that would say opener as we were developing that song. So I think as the chemistry was changing, the chemistry change being Jason Bittner being involved in the fold, it put us in a situation where we wanted to say, hey, everything's okay in our house. We're not knocking on the door politely with our opener. We're kicking it in and asking where the keg is, for instance. So I think that Last Man Standing accomplished that with, again, Thrash 101, hard, heavy, bombastic, and just a good way to, let's say, introduce the Overkill fold into what Overkill was doing in the current day.
You know what? I want to talk about that a little bit. You hit it right there on the nail head. A lot of bands back in the day just played along to what the record label and companies wanted them to sound like. Today, I see a lot of bands and hear a lot of bands talk about, we're going to do what we want to do. We're not going to do what somebody else tells us to do. I think there's a lot more attitude now, don't you think?
I think it's a good point. I've never known it any other way. I always know Overkill is making our own decisions. We've been self-managed since the mid-'90s. We had great management prior to that while we were learning. And maybe during that learning period, our management got messages, got intent from record companies to say, hey, could the guys do this? But I think our management at that point was smart enough to realize that what made the band good was the fact that we were kind of wild horses, that we were We were not in it for the popularity, but in it to be in it, which makes a total difference. But for sure, in the current era, there's a lot more attitude.
I want to jump back here just a little bit too. Jason Bittner, the drummer, what's he brought to this Wild Stallion band that was possibly missing, if anything?
Well, he's another horse running with the four. I knew in the Ukraine. It was a year before he recorded a track for us. I knew that the chemistry had changed. I knew it by the third song, and I knew it was going to be something special. He's schooled. He's had education with regard to his drumming. He has a degree in it. He's the most musician we've ever had. But by the time we got into the third song in Kiev, I was thinking to myself, wow, this is going to be different. So we had a year to play with him on the road, which is a huge luxury before recording, because now not only we understand him, but he understands us. So with the chemistry changing, we had a choice. Embrace it, put your arms around it, make it happen, or push it away. We chose the first one. We embraced it.
Do you like the change? Do you like the growth, though, of this? It has to be awesome.
Well, I think it's overkill regardless at the end of the day. I think that's the point in Overkill. We don't have an identity crisis. We know who the fuck we are.
Right.
We know that we like doing this. But to add something different to that, a different spice, a different approach, a guy who actually writes songs in our fold, at this point in our careers, it's fucking indispensable. It gives great energy, and I think, I could talk about it for 2 hours, but I think the best way to experience it is just press play.
Very true. Very true. Are there any songs standing out more to you than any right now possible on the new album? I know these are like picking your favorite child or favorite collectible, but I know these must change every time. But do you have any favorites, maybe?
Well, I always go for diversity. I love the thrash stuff, so I love the Last Man Standing, kick the door in, where's the keg? That kind of a thing. We're here again, kind of an approach. But I also like things that have nuance, that have ebbs and flows. Songs like Distortion, which has a great intro between Dee Dee and Dave. Almost majestic. I looked at both of them while they were finishing, and I said, well, look who just had their fucking Queen moment. This was just beautiful. But then going into that mid-tempo dark feel, but a mid-tempo. But then on the opposite end of it, Welcome to the Garden State is about as punky as we've ever gotten, but played so well that it's actually, thrash to the nth degree.
Now, you guys self-produce your albums, of course, for a very long time now, and you've worked with Chris Zeus Harris previously. He handled the mixing and mastering again on this album. How good is it to work with him, especially when you work with somebody who knows what you want and what you're looking for?
Well, to be clear, this is Chris's first experience with Overkill.
Oh, okay.
Jason has worked in the past, and Dee Dee has worked on side projects with him. But this was his first Overkill experience. What I thought he brought was a little bit more of an organic drum feel. Sonically, what he did was fill a room with, when you're sitting in a room and you put in, I almost said CD. When you put in the CD, or whether you press play on your iPhone, you want that sound to surround you, to engross you. And I think he made the sound bigger than that. I think he made it bigger than the room that you're sitting in. And I thought that was a unique quality from a sonic perspective, that he could go that far. But we were totally comfortable with him from the beginning based on his reputation.
I'm glad that you guys got to work with Zeus on this, because I've seen a lot of bands the last couple of years tag Zeus on their albums. So he's done a phenomenal job with a lot of bands. So kudos for you guys getting him.
Fans of the music should work with fans of the music. Overkill are obviously fans of the music. Zeus is a fan of the music. And I was first exposed to him back early on with the Lamb of God stuff, and thought he had a great understanding of how to present that band. And obviously we're not Lamb of God, but it's about presentation and understanding the band. So if a guy who normally produces records, and we hand him a produced record, can present us the way we'd like to be in the mix, that's a huge success.
Travis Smith, he did the artwork again on this album for you guys. He's worked with Nevermore, Opeth, Soilwork, and Death. How does it work with him again on this to actually get exactly what you guys want?
Oh, he's part of the fold. When we all retire on an island, Travis will be there with us. I mean, he's been working on our stuff since, the late 90s. He has a great, he's intuitive to know where we're going with something. Sometimes we're both blank. We'll show up to him and say, dude, we don't know what we want. He goes, I don't know what to give you. But sometimes he's ahead. And I think we conveyed to him on the artwork that we wanted something that looked valuable. That was the first word. We wanted to look like something that was artistic, like a painting, but could also be put into kind of a badge-like understanding, something you could pin on your jacket. And he started coming up with what you see now as the finished version of the Wings of War. And I think we were doing the photo shoots for the record, and all of our mouths dropped. It came in right then going, oh my God, he's right on this thing. Mm-hmm. So what he adds to this is probably parallel thinking to what the band has. So it's very easy to work with him and always more than satisfied. And in this case, ecstatic about his final result.
So Overkill had its first mainstream success with the second studio album and Atlantic debut, Taking Over in '87. Did that spark more interest in the band as far as mainstream or no? Possibly?
Well, it wasn't the mainstream per se. I mean, it was still, and it wasn't directly Atlantic. It was distributed by them, but was still on Megaforce Records. But what happened was that Headbangers Ball, as you knew it prior, turned into subgenres. Prior it was Def Leppard and Poison. By the time '87 came along, it was Creator, Slayer, and Overkill. So there was a different formula for metal. So if you couldn't get to Kentucky, if you couldn't get to Butte, Montana, if you could not get to Boise, Idaho, you were still exposed at a high level through video. So that's really where the mainstream exposure came from.
And plus at that time, you're talking about bands like Poison, Cinderella, Def Leppard, like you said. That's when the power ballads came in a lot more harder, I think, too, because I think they was trying to keep up with the thrash metal to not get taken over and taken out. That's my opinion.
I think it's a good point. I mean, it was, I think that genres reflect, the individual bands in the genre reflect other bands in the genre. I think the beauty about thrash was that we really had less of a template to reflect ourselves off other bands. But I think you're right. The power ballad became something special for that softer version of metal. Listen, not a Poison fan at all, but for sure a Cinderella fan. I mean, they always reminded me of the Rolling Stones, or at least half of their stuff. And I liked hearing that. But, I was always much more attracted to, Creator's Pleasure to Kill or South of Heaven by Slayer or doing the stuff we were doing at that time.
Yeah, I like Cinderella. I liked Tom Kiefer. Yeah, exactly. Thanks, man. His voice was so raw. That's what I liked. That's what caught my attention to that band. And the guitar playing was just so fucking phenomenal, dude.
Well, it had come from somewhere else. And I was like, I really never put myself into one genre. I happened to fall into this because it worked well for me, and I became really excited about it. And again, there was no template, so I never knew what I was walking into. But I agree with you 100% that, a raspy voice and a great soulful guitar was what I grew up with. Mm-hmm. So that's those, Long Cold Winter by Cinderella, for instance, always reminded me of my youth with better production.
Man, 19 albums for Overkill. Do you still see yourself growing as a musician from album to album and all the time that you guys are putting into this with the band?
Dude, my back hurts. Hang on just a second.
You ain't getting no damn wheelchair, Bobby.
If you start worrying about the future, you've disrespected the past.
Yeah.
I'm fine in the current day, and that's, for me, again, just press play. I mean, this record is made by 5 guys who like what they do. And I think that that's the most important thing. You know, we were never in this for the accolades. We were never in this, except we could have ended up in worse places than here, or we could have ended up more successful. It doesn't matter. The point is that this is who we are. And the idea is to do it wholeheartedly. It's an opportunity. Squeeze it for what it's worth, and you'll get good results.
And folks, I'm going to say this right now, and I said this the last time when Bobby was on here. Thank God that Overkill was still around. 19 fucking albums, folks. Think about that. How today's music is and how quickly anyone could be gone in a heartbeat with the way music is today. So being around for 19 albums and still being one of the godfathers of thrash metal out there and still kicking ass, that's a lot to say, in my opinion.
You know, I got something like that the other day from a European. I don't know if he understood it, so this will be my first U.S. with this. And he said something similar to what you just said. I said, "Hey, he who dies with the most albums wins, motherfucker."
Well, yeah. That's true. It's morbidly true. Take that, Elvis. Oh, man. I'm going to go to the next one before I forget my question. Damn it, Bobby. So the folks who have not got to see Overkill live at a show yet, what are they going to get when they come to see you guys?
Geez, you know, I always think that, you know, I've been chasing a drug since the 80s, a high. And that high is adrenaline I got the first time I realized I was on a stage that people actually wanted to see me, or us, rather, not me. But I've been chasing that high, you know, for 35 years. And I still continue to, because I can never achieve that adrenaline rush. So I think you're going to get guys who are looking to recreate that high. And that's where the energy comes from, you know, with us, is that it's not taken for granted. Do it because we can do it at a high level. We do it because it makes us feel good. And if you're that type of a person or can connect with that, then it's real easy to buy into or connect with what the band's doing.
You know, folks, we're living in the digital era of recording albums to get music out quicker. And now we got social media to reach out to more fans out on the web now. And everything's changing so much from we used to have 8 tracks, vinyls, and CDs, cassettes. Bobby, do you like the way we're living in right now for music, to reach out to more people, to get stuff out quicker? Do you like this now?
You know, I don't really think about it. You know, the point is that you have to reinvent yourself yearly as quick as the technology changes. I mean, if you don't, you're the guy who's I'd be giving you an answer, for instance, like, let me tell you something when I was a young man, you know, which makes no goddamn sense, because it is what it is. Do I like it? I like shaking hands. I like talking sports. I love playing heavy metal. I fucking love playing heavy metal. And I'll do it any way I can. If that means I have to get, and I love this is Dee Dee Verney's quote, the Facebook, the Twitter, as a sounds like your grandfather telling you. Do you have the Twitter, kids? Yeah, I have the Twitter. Now, I don't have personal accounts for myself, but we have obviously realized that if we didn't embrace the changes, that we would be put in a position to be left behind. And that was not in the cards and not a possibility. So sure, we come from the old school. We may be some of the last cowboys, but the other side of it is I'd rather shake hands. For sure as fuck, you're going to know that we're out there on the Twitter, the Facebook, and the Instagram.
It's just like hearing my relatives saying, I used to walk in the snow up to my waist when I was a young kid. I'm like, horse shit. I know better. Yeah.
Listen, I know bands like this. I mean, I ran to guys that are my age or older than me. And, you know, and I still remember talking to this guy, shaking my head. He's like, you know something, nobody's got any goddamn respect. I'm like, you know, you just became your grandfather, man.
It's true. Oh, man. So Overkill has a huge library of music. Is there a song that has not been played live as of yet that you would like to add to the set list, possibly eventually?
Oh, for God's sake, what a great question. I've never, this has never been asked me.
Suck it, folks. Suck it. There you go.
It can't be. Winner! Bing, 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 bing.
That's right. Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Oh, boy. Nothing off the first four. Nothing off Horoscope. Oh, for God's sake. There's a song off of, I think it's a Killing Kind called Burn You Down, which I always thought was a real great Overkill. Oh, between the thrash and the doom that we have. Just a great mix between the two. I'd like to do Burn You Down to Ashes.
Any bands you're interested in or listening to these days that impress you or give you hope that thrash metal will be in good hands when Overkill steps away and these other bands step away, possibly?
The old guard is obviously, throwing out some real high quality stuff. And I mean that from the top tier down. And in some cases, the lower tier is throwing out high end stuff, whether it be the Death Angel guys or the Exodus guys or the Testament guys, or how about the last Creator record? I mean, that was good. That sounded like, to me, it sounded like a debut record. There was so much hunger in it. And, I'm not going to say necessarily angst, but musicianship, hunger, and, over the top attitude that, I always think to myself, how great is it that, we're in this situation. And when it comes to newer bands, I'm aware of the younger thrash bands. And I think that they have to get themselves to a point where they break the template of what was created in the 80s. If it was there already and you mimic it, you become a copy. So originality has to step in. Back in, 10 years ago, there's a band from England called Evil, which I thought was just about to break with regard to taking their Metallica-esque template over the top and making it original. But they had broken up. There was a band in the U.S. that had an Exodus template called Warbringer, which has now kind of gotten out of that Exodus template into a Warbringer template. And they've got to be 12 years into their career at this point. But I think they have a chance to do originality. But when I look for different music, many times I look in different places. Like, if you listen to ska, blues, and metal, I look into doom. I look into, some rhythmic, bluesy, deep, detuned kind of stuff. And probably my favorite band at this point is a newer band. It's a band called Vessel of Light, which is half New Jersey and half Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh, whoa! You're bringing two sides there together now. That's something.
Oh God, it's like Irish and Italian dock workers getting together for a fight.
And I tell you, another band that's impressed me. They've been around for a very long time. Is a band called Brick by Brick.
Okay, yeah, aware.
They're pretty damn good, folks. You want to get out and pick up Overkill's 19th studio record, The Wings of War. It's out now via Nuclear Blast. Bobby, of course, how can folks stay in touch with you guys? Buy this new album, things like that. How can they do that, my man?
Well, you can find us on Overkill Facebook, Overkill Twitter. You can order any of it online through Amazon. You check out our tour dates. We're heading out to Europe in about 10 days. We'll be back all over the U.S. through the end of April and, into May. We're going to have a great lineup with us, Death Angel, Act of Defiance. We're adding Life of Agony to the New York show. So it's going to be it's going to be a thrash fest. Should be great.
And before I let you go, good sir, as always, would you care to do a promo for my show?
Hey, what do you say, Bobby Blitz from Overkill? That's right. I'm on BODS Mayhem Hour. You know it. I know it. We're both in the right place.
Everybody stick around. We got some great stuff coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour and BODS Mayhem Radio Network. Please get out and check out our Facebook page. It has our podcast link plus our YouTube link, and soon we'll have a Twitch link as well. So, and also get out and check out Overkill. Pick up any of their albums, and I'm surely you will not be disappointed if you like old school thrash metal, kick in your face, kick your teeth down, to go see the dentist and get some false teeth made back for you. It's all worth it. So, Bobby, thanks so much as always, my friend.
Always a pleasure. Always good to be on BODS.